Most of the time, you can see a particular Pokemon and know exactly what it's going to do. Whimsicott? That's going to be Prankster Tailwind. Amoonguss? That's redirection support and sleep spam. Kingambit? It might be Swords Dance, or it might just have attacking moves, but either way it's a bulky Pokemon that's outputting big physical damage. But there are some Pokemon that have enough versatility that they can fit multiple completely distinct roles, each playing very differently to the others. To me, the poster child for this kind of versatility is the Sun Pokemon, Volcarona. Back in Pokemon Black and White, those who delve the depths of the Relic Castle would be rewarded with a one-time encounter with a level 70 Volcarona, which led many to believe that this was a legendary Pokemon. Although that's not actually true, Volcarona has had enough VGC success to live up to this mistaken title, with an enormous 46 major top cut appearances since its debut in Generation 5. Its most popular set throughout that time has been the Quiver setup version. In fact, this set was so good that many thought that Quiver was Volcarona's signature move, which has again never been true. There are a lot of misconceptions around this Pokemon. Quiver is one of the most powerful setup moves in the game, boosting the Pokemon's special attack, special defense, and speed by one stage. Volcarona is already decently fast and has very high special attack, but with the extra stat boosts, one Quiver can be enough to end games against a weakened team thanks to Heat Wave hitting both opponents for big damage. In fact, Volcarona hits so hard that Quiver sets often don't invest very much in special attack, preferring instead to invest in its lower HP and physical defense in order to keep it around for longer once the sweep starts. This combines with the special defense boost from Quiver and options like Leftovers and Giga Drain to keep Volcarona healthy, making it not only incredibly powerful, but also incredibly hard to take down. These move and item choices are very flexible though, with attack options such as Bug Buzz for stab, or Terror Blast for coverage, and items such as Covert Cloak or Life Orb to provide alternative protection or a damage boost. Though Quiver setup is Volcarona's most famous and most flashy set, it also has access to an incredibly wide support move pool, with options including Redirection with Rage Powder, Speed Control with Tailwind, and Damage Mitigation with Will-O-Wisp and Struggle Bug. Despite being a bug type, Volcarona's typing is also surprisingly good defensively, resisting powerful offensive types such as Fairy and Fighting. The biggest problem with Volcarona as a support Pokemon is its stats. With such low physical defense, how can you expect Volcarona to play a bulky support role? That's where its ability comes in. Flame Body means that any Pokemon that makes physical contact with Volcarona has a 30% chance of being inflicted with a burn, a status that halves the damage dealt by the victim's physical attacks. This means that attacking into Volcarona's weaker defensive stat often comes with enormous risk. Urshifu is the best example of how this is effective. Surging Strikes is able to KO Volcarona if Urshifu doesn't get burned, but it requires all 3 hits against bulkier sets, which all come with their own burn chance. This means that trying to hit into Volcarona with Surging Strikes comes with a 65.7% chance for Urshifu to get burned. If you don't hit Volcarona though, you might just get burned by Will-O-Wisp anyway. All of these factors we talked about combine to give Volcarona a strong supporting role on top of its iconic setup sweeper set. In fact, Volcarona is so versatile that it can be both a support Pokemon and a setup sweeper at once. Largely thanks to the new Covert Cloak item allowing it to ignore Fake Out and forego Protect without becoming an easy target, Regulation H saw the rise of Volcarona running these hybrid sets with both Rage Powder and Quiver Dance, able to compress both crucial roles onto one Pokemon and freeing up a team slot for something else. In a similar vein to Volcarona, Maushold is a Pokemon that can function as either a disruptive support Pokemon or as one of the most powerful attackers in the game. Maushold doesn't look like it should be good at first. Its stats are pretty poor apart from its speed, and normal isn't exactly a fantastic typing. So how exactly is a tiny mouse family with 75 base attack going to be out-damaging the likes of Gen 9 heavy hitters such as Palafin and Baxcalibur? The key lies in a combination of one of Maushold's abilities and its signature move, Population Bomb. Population Bomb is a multi-hit normal type attack with 20 base power on each hit and 90% accuracy, hitting up to a staggering 10 times. This means that if all 10 hits connect, this is effectively a 200 base power move that ignores Focus Sash. The problem is that this 90% accuracy check happens on each individual hit, and as soon as you miss one, this move ends. Now, strap in, because it's time to do some probability. With this accuracy check on each hit, there's a 10% chance you don't get a single hit, a 47% chance you get 5 hits or fewer, and only a 35% chance of getting all 10 hits. However, this issue is fixed by the Wide Lens item, which increases the accuracy of all the holder's moves by 1.1 times. This means that each hit of Population Bomb now has 99% accuracy, and your chance of getting all 10 hits skyrockets to just over 90%. We're now working with a pretty consistent 200 base power move, but we're not done just yet. One of Maushold's abilities is Technician, which boosts the power of moves with 60 base power or less by 1.5 times. This also works on multi-hit moves, meaning that each hit of Population Bomb now has 30 base power, for a maximum base power of 300. Even off of Maushold's poor 75 base attack, Technician boosted Population Bomb is able to cleanly KO even bulkier Pokemon like Dragonite or Max Defense Indeedee Female. Despite this tremendous power though, this is not the Maushold set that's been most common across Scarlet and Violet. There are a couple of reasons for this, but the foremost one is that even though Population Bomb is incredibly strong, it's the only move Maushold has that's going to do any reasonable damage thanks to its awful attack stat. On top of that, the fact that it's a normal type move makes it very easy to resist for the common steel types in the many formats Maushold has been used in, and ghost types are completely immune to it. With these both being very common Terra types as well, Maushold can often have a hard time doing the damage it needs to with Population Bomb, and is very easy to take down with its low defensive stats. This offensive set is still very threatening, but it's not too hard to play around. Instead, Maushold commonly prefers to make the most of its incredible support move pool, with options such as Taunt, Encore, Helping Hand, and even Super Fang for damage. Most important of all is Follow Me, allowing it to keep its partner Pokemon safe from incoming attacks. This is augmented by the excellent Friend Guard ability. In a double battle, this ability reduces the damage taken by this Pokemon's partner by an enormous 25%. This means that, unlike most Follow Me users, Maushold can provide its partner with a degree of protection from spread moves that hit both Pokemon, or it can keep them safer whilst also protecting itself from incoming attacks, allowing for another layer of mind games over which Pokemon your opponent should target. Although these support Maushold sets have seen play alongside a host of Pokemon, they've been put to especially good use in the now infamous Mouse-Ape combo, where Maushold is partnered with Annihilate, providing protection for Annihilate and boosting its Rage Fist attack with Beat Up. But can Maushold get away with the same kind of hybrid sets as Volcarona does? Unfortunately, we find our family of four falling foul of inflexibility. The support set needs to be running Friend Guard to be most effective, and usually wants an item such as Safety Goggles to be able to stop a Moongus putting it and its partner to sleep, as well as being able to use Beat Up on Annihilate without worrying about Rage Powder. This means that it doesn't have the Technician ability or the Wide Lens item, making its signature Population Bomb unviable on the full support variants, and making hybrid sets ineffective as they have to sacrifice either damage or support potential, meaning they end up being worse in both roles. For another example of a Pokemon that can play as both support and offense, we're going to go back to Generation 8 and look at Dragapult. Dragapult is incredibly fast and has a good attack stat, as well as a great ability in Clear Body blocking things like Intimidate and speed drops from moves like Icy Wind. In fact, it saw a lot of use in Scarlet and Violet's Regulation H in this powerful attacking role, usually running a Choice Band. So why are we talking specifically about Generation 8? The reason for that is Sword and Shield's generational mechanic, Dynamax. Dynamax was available to all Pokemon, and once per game allowed you to double a Pokemon's HP and granted access to powerful max moves for 3 turns. Particularly in early Sword and Shield, Dragapult was one of the best Dynamax Pokemon in the game, with an amazing offensive typing for neutral coverage, high speed, and access to max Airstream, which boosted the speed of both your active Pokemon and was widely considered the best max move in the game. On top of that, Clear Body meant that, unlike many other Dynamax threats, mitigating Dragapult's Dynamax with stat drops was impossible. However, Dragapult's place in the metagame changed dramatically when certain Gigantamax forms became available for use in VGC. Despite being one of the best offensive Pokemon around, Dragapult's most successful role became that of a supporter for one specific Pokemon, Colossal. Colossal's Steam Engine ability boosts its speed by 6 stages when hit by either a fire or water type attack, taking it from being one of the slowest Pokemon in the game to outspeeding anything that doesn't have a speed boost. The easiest way to activate this consistently without having to worry about the popular Follow Me and Rage Powder users in the format was to use a move that hit every Pokemon on the field, such as Lava Plume or Surf. This is where Dragapult fits into the equation. As the fastest relevant Pokemon in these formats not named Regieleki, it was able to outspeed everything else and use Surf to activate Colossal's Steam Engine before its opponent had a chance to move. Colossal would hold the Weakness Policy item, meaning that on top of the +6 speed boost, it would also get a +2 boost to its attack and special attack when hit by Surf, making its Dynamax moves even more devastating. On top of its high speed, Dragapult's Ghost typing meant that not only was Follow Me useless for stopping this setup, but so was Fake Out. Its unique characteristics made it a perfect and irreplaceable partner for Colossal. In fact, it was so specialised for this partnership that it was actually pretty poor as a support Pokemon on any other team. However, the prevalence of this strategy and Dragapult's effectiveness earn it a spot on this list. All the Pokemon we've talked about so far can play either offense or support, but this isn't the only way a Pokemon can be versatile. Our next Pokemon has 2 popular setup variants, but the 2 play incredibly differently to each other, with one being a fast and offensive special attacking sweeper, and the other being a physically defensive late game engine. Anyone got any guesses? We're talking about the scaly Pokemon, Kommo-o. Kommo-o saw a lot of success in VGC 2018 by using its signature Z move, Clangorous Soul Blaze, to boost all of its stats by one stage, while also firing off a huge 185 base power spread dragon move and getting YouTube videos copyright striked. It could then follow this up with more spread damage thanks to clanging scales, and could capitalize on both offensive stats being boosted with physical and special options such as close combat, poison jab, flash cannon, or flamethrower. It was easy to get Kommo-o going since its setup move was also a powerful attack and couldn't be taunted, and once it had a boost in every stat, it was very hard to stop. Combined with useful abilities such as Soundproof to get around the Pixelate boosted Hyper Voices of Sylveon and Mega Gardevoir, and the Aerolate boosted Hyper Voices of Mega Salamence, or Overcoat to ignore Amoonguss' Spore and Rage Powder, this offensive setup set carried Kommo-o to multiple regional titles in VGC 2018 and earned it an impressive 10th place at the World Championships. Despite Z-moves being removed, a version of this set came with Kommo-o to later generations thanks to a brand new signature move, Clangorous Soul, not to be confused with Clangorous Soul Blaze. Clangorous Soul sacrifices a third of the user's maximum HP in exchange for a boost to all of its stats. This set isn't nearly as powerful as the VGC 2018 version, since the setup now requires an extra move slot, sacrifices some HP, and no longer comes with a 185 base power spread move attached to it. However, there is one upside. Not needing to use a Z move to set up allows for Kommo-o to hold a different item. Since Clangorous Soul is a sound move, Kommo-o can hold Throat Spray to get an extra special attack boost on top of the one it already gets, bringing it to +2 special attack. Alternatively, Kommo-o can use Clanging Scales to get a +1 special attack boost anyway without the need to spend a turn setting up. Though less popular than in its VGC 2018 peak, this version of offensive special attacking setup on Kommo-o has seen some strong results in Scarlet and Violet, including 3rd place at the Latin American International Championships in the recent Regulation H format. However, there's been another version of Kommo-o setup that has seen success in Scarlet and Violet, and that's all thanks to one move, Body Press. Body Press is an 80 base power fighting type move that calculates damage using the user's defense rather than their attack, meaning that the higher the user's defense, the higher Body Press's damage. In conjunction with Iron Defense, Kommo-o can boost its already high base 125 defense to insane levels, even further boosting the damage output of Body Press. Though not the only notable Iron Defense Body Press user in Generation 9, Kommo-o has a few things going for it that other Pokemon don't have. The main one is its typing. Its Dragon and Fighting typing not only gives it a number of useful resistances to types such as Fire, Water, and Dark, but also gives it a same type attack bonus on Body Press, allowing it to threaten immediate damage unlike many other Body Press users such as Registeel. The other key factor is the Overcoat ability. Usually, Amoonguss is very good at dealing with Iron Defense Body Press setup sweepers due to its resistance to fighting and ability to redirect incoming Body Presses or put the Body Press user to sleep. Overcoat allows Kommo-o to ignore both of these, essentially making Amoonguss useless at stopping it. Other abilities can be used on this Kommo-o set, but Overcoat is the one that makes it stand out the most. This set, although not too common, has achieved a number of top 8 placements across Scarlet and Violet's lifetime. Now, you know the whole unstoppable force versus a movable object thing? Well, get yourself a fish that can do both. Dondozo was introduced in Scarlet and Violet, and with it came a brand new Pokemon archetype to VGC, the Raid Boss. Dondozo has a unique mechanic where, if a Tatsugiri with the Commander ability is sent out next to a Dondozo, Dondozo will swallow the Tatsugiri, gaining a +2 boost to all of its stats and making it unable to switch out, but turning the match into a 2v1 battle. Doubling Dondozo's already impressive bulk makes it an absolute nightmare to take down, especially when it holds the Leftovers item. Some Pokemon struggle to even do enough damage to it to offset Leftovers recovery over the course of 2 turns as Dondozo clicks Protect. Add to that its doubled attack stat, which can be even further boosted by its signature move Order Up, a Dragon-type attacking move which gives it a stat boost when used with a Tatsugiri in its mouth. The stat that gets boosted depends on the form of Tatsugiri, with the most common being the Curly form, for an attack boost that allows Dondozo to snowball if left unchecked. With these attack boosts stacked up, its powerful moves such as Wave Crash, Earthquake, and Heavy Slam threaten massive damage to most of the format. You can't even stop Dondozo by setting up to match its stat boosts thanks to its Unaware ability, ignoring all stat changes on opposing Pokemon. The best option is generally to try and whittle it down over time, maybe try to knock off its Leftovers or poison or sleep it with Amoonguss. However, Dondozo sets over the years have adapted to what's been relevant in the meta at the time, with sets such as Substitute and Terra Dragon appearing in metas where Ogerpon was powerful, with Substitute allowing Dondozo to block status moves and ignore Intimidates, while Terra Dragon allowed it to resist Ogerpon's attacks. In metas where Amoonguss is popular, Dondozo has run Terra Grass to ignore its Spores and Rage Powders, with some even opting for Terra Blast in Palaf and heavy formats to KO it before it can haze away all of Dondozo's boosts. These styles of raid boss Dondozo teams are something that always have to be kept in mind when team building, or else they threaten to run over unprepared teams. Especially in the earlier Scarlet and Violet formats, Dondozo is incredibly threatening due to the lower power of everything surrounding it, but it's maintained relevance even in the high-powered Regulation G, taking home its 3rd regional title at the start of February in Merida. However, there are some metagames where raid boss Dondozo struggles due to the prominence of certain Pokemon like Multiscale, Haze Dragonite, and itself? Yep, one of the best Dondozo counters in the game is a different Dondozo. Dondozo without Tatsugiri, or Solo Dozo as it's commonly known, has popped up from time to time in various metagames to fill certain niches, even taking home the North American International Championships in 2023. In that case, it formed a mean pairing with Tinglu. Dondozo's HP and physical defense are incredibly high, and Tinglu's Vessel of Ruin ability lowering all Pokemon's special attack stats by 25% boosted Dondozo's special bulk, turning it into an absolute wall. The Tinglu on these teams would run Sand Tomb to trap opposing Pokemon in and deal residual damage to them, while Dondozo could put the trapped Pokemon to sleep with a yawn that they couldn't escape from. Dondozo's Oblivious ability makes it immune to Taunt, so that was usually the best choice on these slower teams that were more reliant on status moves and protect stalling. It also gave it the added bonus of being immune to Intimidate, which meant that even though it was built defensively, with its decent 100 base attack and high power moves in Wave Crash and Heavy Slam, Dondozo was dealing good damage that you couldn't afford to ignore. This pairing of Tinglu and Dondozo has seen success across all of Scarlet and Violet, with its international championship victory coming in Regulation C almost 2 years ago, and its most recent big result being a top 4 placing at San Antonio Regionals in January of this year. The other key role played by Solo Dozo was exemplified most in Regulation H. In that regulation, setup sweepers were everywhere, with Pokemon like Swords Dance Kingambit, Electroshot Archaludon, and Quiver-Dance Volcarona running the format. Unfortunately for all of these powerful setup Pokemon, Dondozo is simply too stupid to notice your stat boosts. Thanks to its Unaware ability, Solo Dozo earned a spot in the metagame due to its incredible ability to stop setup. By ignoring all of the opponent's stat boosts, Dondozo was able to sit in front of these sweepers and click Yawn, forcing them to either switch and lose all of their boosts, or stay in and fall asleep, leaving them at the mercy of Dondozo and its teammates. Against super defensive Pokemon like this, you can usually switch around the Yawns and focus your attention on the real threat that's next to it. But Dondozo had an interesting way of getting around this problem. These sets would also often run Fissure, which meant that opponents couldn't ignore Dondozo at risk of being hit by a one-hit KO move. This is the Dondozo set that acts as a perfect counter to Raid Boss Dondozo. Unaware means that the opposing Dondozo's boosts are useless and that it can't do any notable damage to Solo Dozo. Meanwhile, the Raid Boss can't switch out of Yawn Sleeps and is a sitting duck for those fissures, one of which is likely to connect at some point. Not only is Dondozo an example of a very versatile Pokemon, but it's also possibly the only example of a Pokemon pushing itself out of a metagame. And those are my picks for some of the most versatile Pokemon in VGC. Let me know in the comments if you agree with these picks, or if I missed any that you think deserve to be on the list. As always, if you enjoyed, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out my other videos for more competitive Pokemon content. To keep up with my live content, go follow me on Twitch. The link to that is in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.